Delta Force franchise made its long-awaited return with the release of Delta Force Open Beta, but it's fair to say it's very much different from that classic original hardcore Delta Force game from the franchise. But this new Delta Force game is more like a modern reboot with blending in with some tactical, large-scale warfare and an extraction mode that targeted towards more of a modern-day audience. And since the game came out on last week, I already put close to like 40 hours into the game, so this will be my full review of Delta Force Open Beta and my honest opinion about the game right now, talking about all the good things, bad things and the things in between. So without wasting any more time, let's get right into it. Alright, for those who are new to Delta Force, it's a brand new free-to-play multiplayer tactical first-person shooter, kind of a mash between Battlefield 2042 game modes with Call of Duty-like gunplay. And the game just launched into open beta on PC and it is completely free to play. You can download and check the game out right now. But if you're on mobile or consoles, you have to wait some time because the game will be coming out in early January. And with this beta comes new maps, tons of available weapons, new game modes, customization options, and also a surprisingly amount of content considering it's an open beta. But the good news is you won't be losing any of your progress that you made throughout this open beta when the game launched into early access. Alright, the game launched with two big game modes that include the large-scale Battlefield style mode called Warfare and a Tarkov-like extraction mode called Operation. There is also a single-player campaign called Black Hawk Down which will be coming out with the full release of this game in early 2025. So it is safe to say pretty much all the game modes and the features that we've seen from this open beta, it is something that we already seen with other big titles. I'm not saying that in a bad way, but we cannot really brag about it much since the Delta Force is completely free to play. And the game feels surprisingly polished and technically sound compared with some of the launch version of bigger AAA titles like Battlefield 2042. And so far during my playtime, there is no any major performance issues or any game-breaking bugs that I found, which is always good, and I will talk about it more later down in the video. And one of the strongest aspects of Delta Force is the map design and its layout. Right now in the Warfare mode, there are 5 different maps in the game and 2 maps that we already played during the closed beta test, that is Ascendant and Cracked, and also including 3 brand new maps, Threshold, Trench Line and Shafted. And all of them offers you a pretty good variety depending on the game modes that you play. Sometimes it prompts you to play more infantry. In some maps like Trench Line, you can do a lot of sniping, or if you are a vehicle maniac, you can always drive around a tank or a helicopter. But when you play the game for like dozens of hours, you're gonna get used to most of these maps, and ultimately it feels a little bit boring. So I feel like they need at least a couple of new maps when the game launches into early access. The game also have a pretty strong selection of weapons, and each operator has around dozens of weapons that you can choose and few weapons shared across all classes. I feel like that's a great addition because each operator has a multiple classes of weapons that you can choose. For an example, as a recon, you are not limited to sniper rifles. There is always option to use assault rifles, SMGs, shotguns and even marksman rifles. And overall weapons feel great with tight arcade gunplay with responsive controls. And if you ever played any latest Call of Duty games for the last few years, and the sounds, animation and the overall feel is going to be very similar. And this is no surprise because the game was actually developed by TV Studios, the guys who are behind Call of Duty Mobile. And these weapons have significant amount of recoil compared to a game like Call of Duty or Battlefield, but as you unlock more attachment, you can make a pretty decent build and you can pretty much customize and calibrate your loadout however you want it to be. And customization is arguably one of the biggest aspects of Delta Force, and right now there are more than 50 plus weapons in the game, and it's gonna take some time for you to unlock some of the attachment for these weapons because some weapons have like 70, 80 plus max levels. And considering this is a free to play shooter, I thought there was going to be a pretty insane grind to unlock some of these attachments, but that is not necessarily the case. But you're gonna get so much XP just by playing with the weapon, and if you're decent at the game, you're gonna get 15 to 20 levels each game. And on top of all that, the game also gonna give you so much XP boosters just by playing the game and completing some of the in-game events. That will definitely come in handy and help you to unlock some of these attachments a little bit faster. And as I previously mentioned, you can build and tweak your weapons to however you like, and there is also option to calibrate some of these attachments to get the best out of your weapon. And on top of all that, there is also a pretty cool feature that allows you to share some of your weapon build with the others just by sharing this little code, and you simply have to copy it and just import it into your loadout. Obviously some changes might come in the future, but I feel like most of these weapons are in a pretty good state when it comes to some of the weapon balancing. But I can't really say the same for some of the operators and their ability abilities. Some of them are a little bit overpowered, but most of the operator abilities are pretty standard stuff like healing gun, stun drones, grenade launchers, flash bombs, and also recon darts. But some of these abilities, for an example like the healing gun in the medic class or the recon arrows, are somewhat overpowered and overused in my opinion. These abilities does have a recharge time and a cooldown, but when you have multiple operators in the same class, it's gonna get spam over and over again. For example, in some game modes you will find smokes everywhere because there are so many medics, and combining that with an ability like a recon dart, you always gonna get scanned and probably spam through these smokes, which can be super annoying. So I feel like they need to adjust some of these cooldown times and recharges, and I'm hoping more changes will be coming out in future. And other than the warfare mode, there is a big extraction mode, and this extraction mode is the one that's really set this apart from the Battlefield games. But honestly, I haven't really spent a lot of time playing the extraction mode. I only play like 3 matches. There's an interaction phase and also get some time to get into. There's a lot of things going around with the extraction mode. Hopefully I'll be able to cover it in a more detailed video later down the line. Alright, since this is a free-to-play game, if you go through some of these menus, it feels overwhelming and feel like the game is aggressively monetized. But as far as I can see, there is no any pay-to-win elements, at least on the warfare mode. Of course, there is weapon skins, cosmetic items that you can buy, even a seasonal battle pass if you wanna grind out and unlock some of these rewards, including both paid and free rewards. And talking about the battle pass, there are 2 different battle passes depending on the game mode that you most played. For an example, if you're only playing the warfare mode, there is a separate battle pass that you can buy for a little bit cheaper, and if you're playing both game modes, you can buy that deluxe battle pass for like $9. And also there's a pretty interesting looking marketplace in the game, and if you ever browse around that Steam marketplace for CSGO skins, this is going to be pretty similar to that. You will unlock some weapon skins and they all comes in different conditions, and you can either sell them on the marketplace, and also you can browse around and buy other people's skins with real money. But nothing here is pay to win, it's completely cosmetics only. The only way to unlock new weapons, gadgets and attachment is to play the game, earn more XP and just leveling up. And they also mentioned several times on their Steam page the game will not be pay to win, which I think is absolutely the way to go, and I'm hoping that it stays that way. And other than that, there are tons of in-game events that you can complete for different rewards, XP boosters and even weapon skins. And throughout my playtime, I unlock all of these skins for completely free just by playing the game. I haven't spent a single dollar, so if you're a free-to-play gamer, there are so much free stuff that you can unlock, which is really cool. And finally, we are moving on to the performance, and I would say overall performance is really solid. There's no any major FPS drops, game bugs, game crashes or anything like that during my playtime. The game overall runs pretty smoothly on my system, and I see a couple of videos showing that the game runs pretty decently even on the minimum system requirements, which is always a great thing to see. And at the time of recording the video, the game is having around 100,000 people playing on Steam, and that's a good start, and hopefully this number will grow up in the future. But right now, overall Steam reviews are sitting at mixed category, that mainly due to that unknown kernel level anti-cheat system that they're using in the game right now. I personally don't have any concern with it because most of the online games are nowadays using this kernel level anti-cheat. Even big games like Valorant need you to run this anti-cheat 24/7 on your system. This is nothing like that, but overall it is something you have to keep in mind. Alright, finally we are moving on to some of the things that I don't really like about the game right now. I'm gonna get straight to the point. Right now there are no server selection option in the game. Most of the games I'm gonna get around 40 to 60 ping, which is really good, and sometimes I'm gonna get like 250 plus ping, which is really annoying, and I would say this happened at least 3 out of 10 matches. And every single game that I play on the extraction mode, I get more than 250 plus ping, so I decided not to play that mode right now. I feel like you have to have that option to select different servers. I live in South Asia and I play mostly on the Singapore servers, and I should have the option to stick with Singapore servers, even though it's gonna take some time for me to matchmake. And I'm also seeing that they're mentioning right now there are no AI or bots in the game. Even some sponsored videos mentioning there are no bots in the game right now, but I can pretty much guarantee there are absolutely bots in the game. If you don't trust me, just look at this clip. These guys are just keep dying and spawning again and again, just looking at me, and I'm keep killing them over and over again. This is not a real player behavior. These are absolutely bots who used to fill up the servers. So I'm hoping at least they will get rid of this bot when the game fully launch. And also let me know down below if you have encountered any bots during your playtime. And also when it comes to the battle pass, there is a weekly XP cap. There's a maximum amount of XP that you can get, which I'm not the biggest fan of. But to be fair, the battle pass levels are very easy to grind. You're gonna get so much XP, and you're gonna get at least 2 to 3 levels every game that you play. And I would love to see more maps, new content, and hopefully more cool stuff and balance changes will be addressed in the upcoming updates. Well, that's pretty much it for me, guys. So finally, should you play Delta Force Open Beta right now? The answer is absolutely yes. So if you're a fan of first-person shooter games, looking for some fresh Battlefield-like experience, the game is completely free to play. There's no harming in downloading and trying trying it out. It's a very solid first-person shooter and had a great foundation, and hopefully it will grow into something bigger in the future. And finally guys, as always, if you enjoy the content, don't forget to like, subscribe and stay tuned to the channel as we cover pretty much anything related to free-to-play games like this. I'll catch you guys soon in the next one. Stay safe.